Jeff Veen designs and makes beautiful things. When he has a project in mind, he doesn't just copy someone else's idea. Instead, he looks for elegant solutions and intentionally takes what he needs. Enjoy.
Ignite is an ongoing series of speedy presentations. They've ranged from building multi-person pogo sticks to hacking chocolate. Any topic that geeks hold dear. Each speaker gets only 5 minutes and 20 slides that auto-advance every 15 seconds. The talk you're about to hear was recorded live at one of the featured Ignite events around the world.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to talk a little bit tonight about making things. I'm a designer, as Brady said. I make things for a living, and I bet many of you coming to a conference like this also participate in making things. And as I think about that, I keep coming back and I keep coming across this quote from Picasso: "Good artists copy, great artists steal." And I don't really know what he was on about. I keep picturing this tiny little bald artist carrying canvases out of galleries. I don't think that's true. But the more I thought about it, the more it led me back, oddly enough, to World War II. So Japan bombs Pearl Harbor, 1941. The United States goes to war. It's a lot more complicated than that, of course. But the result was the United States had to take a tremendous army all the way across to the other side of the world to a bunch of islands in the South Pacific. They turned up, they set up a bunch of airstrips and bases, and almost immediately started getting all their supplies coming. They also ran into a bunch of indigenous people that frankly had never seen white folks before and had never seen technology like this before. And they sort of had this uneasy watching of each other. Well, the war didn't last forever. Japan surrendered eventually, and all the soldiers packed up and left, leaving all of these indigenous people sitting around wondering, hey, where's all this stuff? So they did what they had observed. They started building airstrips and built bamboo airplanes and control towers and tried to mimic the behavior they had observed, hopefully so that they could get more of the stuff. You would imagine anthropologists loved this, right? They've called this phenomenon cargo cults and have studied this now for years, really kind of looking at how we understand the world around us and the rituals and the beliefs that we hold true. And what's remarkable is that this is still going on today. There are islands in the South Pacific that have men marching around with bamboo guns, hoping that if they do things just right, they will have this sort of second coming. So what does this have to do with design and technology and making things? Well, every so often, there's a product that works so well, that gets technology so right, that it appears almost to be like magic. And almost immediately, competitors do these superficial cargo cult-like knockoffs of the features that they see, hoping that they too can sort of cash in on that success. That if they mimic what they see, that the popularity, the benefit, will land on them as well. So when we think about the web, we have to wonder, is this bad, right? I mean, Kevin Kelly talks about the web as being the world's largest copy machine. And even Larry Lestick is trying to get laws, the copyright law changed so that we can have derivative works. But then we have pirated.sites.com showing exact knockoffs of people's work. So Jason Fried, in a very rare civilized post on his blog, recently said, shouldn't copying something be easier than creating it? But the problem is that work on the original is invisible. The copier doesn't know why it looks the way it looks. And Dieter Rams said the same thing, right? Good design is innovative. It does not copy existing product forms, nor does it produce any kind of novelty for the sake of it. And he was able to say this at a time when it was still extremely cool to smoke. So the key here, I think, is to be intentional with what we steal. To look at what the principles are behind the things that are successful and steal those rather than just a superficial copy. And that kind of brings us back around to Picasso a little bit, who would talk a lot about inspiration when he talked about theft, right? He would look at things like African tribal masks and use that, literally steal those principles and bring that into his work when he was experimenting with Cubism and developing Cubism at the beginning of the last century. So good artists copy, and great artists steal. I think I'm starting to get a sense of what he was talking about when he did that. The irony to all of this is that Picasso very likely stole this quote from T.S. Eliot, who had said that earlier: immature poets imitate, mature poets steal. And he went on to say that the good poet welds his theft into a whole of feeling which is unique, utterly different from that from which it was torn. Utterly different, which I think is pretty much the key here. So I think sort of we should all be looking as deeply as we can, as broadly as we can, to find things that we can steal and mash up with what we believe in and what we're passionate about. So we should use, rather than copying and kind of waiting for the cargo to arrive, we should steal and stand on the shoulders of giants. Thank you very much.
Thank you.